Good evening.
Cheers. I am on whiskey.
Yes, I am also breaking my diet because I need
A drink.
a drink.
It is.
This is a shot and a half, or
Yep.
you have to lie to me. You say, no, that's 3 shots. Because it's
3
like,
shots.
can I have like one more?
No. Alco.
I am an alcoholic. I'm a functioning alcoholic.
Sip it.
I'm trying.
Welcome back to the Doc Day drinking, but it's nighttime.
The Doc Night Drinking Podcast.
From not sunny Tasmania because the sun has gone.
From
It is 12 degrees outside and the fire is on because it's cold here now.
beautiful northern Tasmania, not
Yeah.
Launceston. We do not live in Launceston.
No, we
Remember?
don't.
We don't. We don't live in Launceston.
No, we don't.
We're Launceston adjacent.
Yes, we are.
God, I hate Launceston. Have I mentioned that?
Anywho.
Do we have to do that like the shit towns of Australia, which Launceston often features in, where at the end it's always finished with Port Pirie still sucks? Like of the 10,
I've never been to Port Pirie.
apparently it sucks. Moving right along, what topics do we have for today's discussion?
We're starting with Tassie, aren't we?
We are. It's all about you.
Is it?
No,
Okay.
well, it's all about you. Can start it today.
All right.
You've got a phone in front of you. I don't.
I do. So the first topic would be: you've seen the development that's been knocked back for the hill near Hobart? Well, it's not actually near. It's not even on the same side as Hobart. It's around the bend.
The issue is, as I understand it,
Drafty
is
Point, as I'm calling it. But
Is it Drafty Point?
No, it's spelt
Should be Drafty Point.
Draught.
I will
Droughty Point.
lean over
But
everybody and get my
Tassie's
phone while we're doing
pronounce
it.
things differently, so
What's it? Oh, Droughty Point or
yes,
something like that.
Droughty Point.
Okay.
45 minutes drive or something. 25 minutes drive.
It's not on a hill right in Hobart.
No.
But
If you look at a map, there's literally a body of water in between Hobart and this peninsula.
now, as I understand it, it's 2 families that own the land, and there's a bit of land there, and it's not much. We're talking about
240 hectares, I think it was.
240 hectares.
Yeah.
So, as I said to you the other day when we discussed this the very first time, it was like, that's only 3 times the size of our property. So it's not,
Well, it's only 2,500 houses.
yeah. But something, didn't they say there was going to be like 6 suburbs or something
Of
ridiculous like
course.
that?
Of course there is in Tasmania. Of course. Jesus Christ. They've never gone past a suburb or a local council they didn't like. Let's add another one.
Well, at the moment, what do we got? 26 councils?
Fuck knows.
Which has
Too
been
many.
reduced from the original 480 or
And
something.
none of them do anything.
Well, I said that before, that they should make their mind up. Either get rid of all the councils and have the state government, which represents only 500,000 people, or get rid of the state government and just have the councils.
They're the 2 primary industries here: welfare and councils.
Seems that way.
Anyway, so there's a hill. These 2 families have spent money on getting a development proposal together by an external body.
Which, as we know, you have to do anyway.
Oh, God,
but
yeah.
sure.
And then the local council have knocked it back at their, obviously,
From NIMBYism.
yeah. No, well, the reason that I saw was that it would affect the aesthetic. And I went, oh God.
The reason that I saw, which they, well, like on that one, it's like they all wail and moan about there's not enough housing and there's not enough cheap housing and blah blah blah, and here's people go, well, do you want 2,500 houses? And then on a technicality, because the bit that I read was that for it to work, and this is always lost on people, is that they only go 70 metres up the hill or
There's
something.
an urban growth area.
Boundary.
Yes.
Yeah. And it needs to go, to make it profitable, it needs to go to 110 metres. This is what people don't realise. It's like if you're building a house, like if you're building a skyscraper in a proper city, say, and you want 20 stories, that's because the first 15 stories are the expense, and the top 5 stories, that's the profit. That's where your profit is. Because once you built 10 stories, well, it's not that much extra to build another 5, and that's called profit.
Yeah.
And it'd be the same sort of thing with that, where they'll be going, oh, why isn't that enough? It's like, well, because the first 1,000 houses is probably the bloody overhead.
Well,
Like
in
it would
this
be.
day and age, yes.
Yeah, because they're going to go, you're going to have to pay for all the roads, all the drains, all the power lines,
poles,
like
yeah.
all the... You got to pay for the whole damn thing.
But yeah, so they've... And then I just saw another headline that who's overruled them and said, just sit down, be quiet.
our good friend and mouth breather, which I am allowed to say, even though we have had a conversation about
Michael
not
Ferguson.
being... See? As soon as I say mouth breather. He's well and truly in the public eye, and politicians like that. I say it in jest. We love him dearly.
You've met him.
He's a friend of the show.
You've met him, I haven't. I don't know any local politicians.
I've met just about all of them over the years. So when I was here originally, I was an academic at the university doing my PhD, which made you a lecturer, which made you hang around the university. And in the university, there was a subsidised cafe called Degrees, I kid you not, and I had just enough money that I could afford a
coffee.
Well, no, I was going to say a sneaky half bottle of wine at lunch.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, when politicians would come around, they'd always be in there. So I certainly met, like, walking past and, hi, how are you, introduced to pretty much every politician in Tasmania back then. And I can't remember his name. I know he stood for pre-selection God knows how many times. And he was the head of,
Sorry, went down the wrong way.
You can look him up if you want. One of the young Labor guys who would be a part of the old Labor guys now, because that was quite a while ago. But he was the president of Young Labor, and he's going, because who was it? Whoever was the Labor premier back then. Oh, do you want to come and meet them? And I went, and I was in a mood, and I was going, and literally something had pissed me off that day that they did, and I went, you are the last person you want to take me to that lunch.
I am the last person you wanted that lunch.
It's late. I've had 2 sips of alcohol, but it's the first drink I've had in a week. Anyway, so no, about that thing, it's just unbelievable. So, but as it is, as I read, it's like the growth boundary, like, kind of it's further out near it, and the only reason it only went that far, to 70 metres up this hill, was that literally when it was done, probably in fucking 19 whatever, you could only push shit 70 metres uphill
at the time. Yeah.
So it was really, the limitation there was utterly
technological based.
Yeah, it was an artificial limit based on the limit of technology, where everything else is further. So now we can push shit further uphill, no problem. We should bring it up.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it goes, because yes, the fact that they've just, the local council and NIMBYs have said no.
They are so
Hobart's
two-faced on it.
Crying out for it, but then they'll stand in a bloody protest with a sign saying, "Where's our housing?" It's like, you said no.
Well, how often does it where, again, another friend of the show, not really, she's watched it once, like Louise on Hobart Council, where she's pushing for houses, and all these other, bleeding hearts, like the council, like a few episodes ago, whenever we were talking about that, and you saw just these bleeding heart, lefty, woke lunatics carrying on, but they keep voting against new housing on some technicality. Oh, the swift orange-bellied marmot, the spotted what was the spotted Parmalote and the Marmaduke or something or other?
Pardalot.
Yeah, and it was like, we looked it up, it ended up being a bird or something, It's like,
he can fly away, he's good.
I thought anything with a lote on it, I thought was like, I'm thinking some sort of
Marmalot.
Yeah, I think some sort of marmot.
Yeah. So anyway, but people
don't do it.
They vote for them, and then they do exactly the opposite of what the people have asked them to do.
Yeah. So here's the thing, Tasmania, which is grossly underdeveloped.
Oh God!
If you want cheaper houses, and I got skin in this game. I already own all mine. I don't give a fuck. It doesn't matter what they're worth. And I can.
No, we can buy a few more.
Well, that's it. If they get cheaper, I'll buy a few more. That's the thing. If the rents go down because there's more stock, and if I decide I want to still have that same income for it, I'll buy another. Well, I won't buy. I'll build another house. I've got a shitload of land. Yeah. I'll build another house, and I'll rent the thing out.
In there, yeah.
No problem.
They don't want to solve it. I've said that to you before.
No, well,
they don't want to solve it. They just want to hate themselves forever and just whinge. Back to mine. I'm a broken record.
Yeah, got too much time on your hands.
No, yeah, and I think I need a new saying. actions speak louder than words.
I said we're really getting into... I forgot the bloody... I did so well on this and I forgot the one thing.
I think you're retarded.
Yeah, I am retarded. Oh no, we're being cancelled.
Bit demented.
Retarded.
But anyway.
I identify...
As demented?
As a retard.
Anywho, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Now that the mouth breather has stepped in though and has said, no, you just sit down and be pretty.
Yes, so we're getting back to that.
It's not Hobart City Council. It
was a bunch of councils, but obviously,
was it?
Yeah,
it wasn't Hobart. Because I said it's not, because they kept saying near a major capital city, and I'm like, is it Sydney?
Hobart is not a major capital city.
No.
Guys, stop it.
No.
I hope you read. Have you misspoken?
No. A, no, and B, it's not near that anyway.
So, Hobart is the smallest capital city, isn't it? So how is it a major capital city?
Don't know.
What compared to the capital of Samoa?
It's the
Hobart
south
is a major
capital city. Tick.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not the further south city though.
No, capital city.
The capital
of
city.
State. On an island.
Bless them. Yeah. Anyway,
so there was that.
So yes, that was thing, and yeah, but the point, I can't remember which point I've forgotten. I've forgotten a couple of them, which will annoy me for people watching. But
I was just surprised as well that it said it's owned by two families, and surely they've got friends on council.
Well, that's what I was also coming back to the point of
It's not
not that big. If
not the Archers.
we could be involved in that, and we'd have a third of it.
Yeah, true.
But that's what I was going to say. That yes, so it looks like it will go ahead, and they'll just push it through because it sounds like if they've just artificially done it to the boundary, well, I'll move the boundary.
There's no reason for it to not go ahead.
And what was the other thing I was going to say on that one besides the NIMBYism? Oh yeah, it's just like, just release more land, guys. Just release more land, and by releasing land, because everything in Tasmania is owned, it's like, let people here develop the land they have to a standard that becomes profitable. So
make the fact of subdivisions less paperwork bound and less expensive. Encourage people.
Let the market decide. So here's the thing, like we've got a 40-acre parcel that I'd like to subdivide, and right now I could subdivide it into one 40-acre parcel, which I could sell for, at the moment, if I saw the right person coming, I don't know, what could you sell it for as a separate piece of land? A few $100,000.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, but not millions, right? That's not worth my time. I'd rather have the mud, thanks.
Yeah.
But if I could subdivide that into 22-acre lots, like lifestyle lots, maybe a little less, and let the market decide. So I'll put a road in, and we'll bring services there, and we'll put services in, I'll do all that, and I'll put them there, and I'll sell them. And if people go, oh, that's not to a standard that I want to live at, well, you know what? They won't buy them.
But there's no one here either.
But the other point is they're not going to get more people to come here because it is getting more expensive.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though. There's no one here, so I don't know why you're all banging your heads against a wall about, oh, we can't have more houses. It's like, yeah, you can.
You really can.
And you need more people, and you need more houses.
Look at a map of Tasmania. So here,
there's nothing here.
Where we're jumping ahead. I've talked a bit before about the East Coast, right? Look at the East Coast. Just zoom in a bit. And you go, okay, there's a couple of things, and then just look down the East Coast and look, there's one road.
Yeah, they think,
and there's a few
oh, stop coming. It's like, there's no one here.
The biggest town on the side of eastern Tasmania, I think, would be St Helens, right? Would that be the biggest town on the east of Tasmania? If not, it's like fucking... There's only 5, so it's certainly top 5, right?
Yeah.
So, in a part of Tasmania, hundreds of kilometres from top to bottom on that side,
there's nothing.
Like the whole side of Ireland or the whole side of Switzerland, there's 5 towns where the biggest one's about the size of Tamworth.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah.
Fuck off, we're full.
Yeah.
No, you're really not.
No, you're not full at all. And it'd be wonderful if we had more people and more services, because wouldn't you like that?
Yeah.
No. Well, again, maybe they're just talking to the whingy lot. I don't know.
I'd
like it. Well, which brings us into the next topic.
I think it can be, just to put a pin in that, I think it can be, I think 1 million people in Tasmania would be a good bloody start.
Yeah, I agree.
If they want to get a little bit of need a little bit of a momentum, get some things going, make it be able to have, because that's the other thing I've always said about that. It's like, which is starting to happen in the north. It's happened a bit earlier and things. People like, you know why there's malls everywhere? People like them.
Moles? Is that what you said? I thought you said moles. I'm like, is there?
People like moles too. There's plenty of moles.
Fucking badgers again.
I was thinking more women of easy women. People like them too. But no, I mean malls. You know, there's bloody malls everywhere. People like them.
I like them.
It's another bloody big box development. People like them. It's just
because
selling.
You're all
it's just
consumers, and you want that stuff. Duh.
Yeah. And at the moment, that's what we like to do. But we want to do that. But why? So that's fine. You can decide. You can decide not to have any of that stuff. And for a very long time, that they didn't. They said we don't want it. And you know what happens? People move elsewhere because people like that. People like comfort.
There's no opportunity. There's no employment.
There's no employment.
There's nothing to do. The kids
Why would you invest in it?
I'm bored and go and vandalise shit. Like,
So
there's nothing to do. Side note, which is
if you build it, they will come.
Yes. TK Maxx is opening in Hobart, and I saw a Facebook post about it, and half the comments on it from Tasmanians were, I've never heard of that. I'm like, you've never left your house, have you? Jesus Christ. So, yeah, why do we want that? Great. Anywho, so that brings us slightly into the second subject, which we are going to Steamfest tomorrow. And remember, we were having a... Well, I am regretting my decision to go to Steamfest tomorrow.
You haven't been yet?
No. But I had a bit of a look, and there's nothing there. Like, there's no surrounding towns, because you were saying maybe we'll make a day of it and do a little day trip and blah, blah, blah. What else is around?
So Steamfest is in Sheffield. And, dear listener, if you go to Google Maps and look at the town of Sheffield in Tasmania,
not the UK, because I got really excited.
Oh, look, there's all this shit here. No, there really isn't. And Sheffield, Sheffield's one of those towns where I always go, you can live a quiet life there. Like if it's very pretty, and there's some really good scenery out in the background. Like there's a big fuck off mountain range and everything behind it that's really, really interesting, and it's cute and it's quaint, and it's the sort of place you can buy fudge and you know, and go and look at a marble museum or something. I think there was like a marble museum, something weird. But it was it's quirky. If you like the ABC show, Rosehaven, whilst Rosehaven was filmed in the south, Sheffield would be a perfectly good facsimile of Rosehaven, right? But that's what we're saying. Like, but then zoom out a bit, and then zoom out some more, and go, there's fucking nothing here. There's a few settlements with such wonderful
weird
terms.
Names.
Needles. What else?
Paradise. The Promised Land.
Yeah. So look at all this fucking creepy buckle-hatted shit that's out there. There's also the walls of Jerusalem, and you know, there's lots of weird, but that's not there.
Elizabethtown has good snot blocks. I know that.
But anyway, zoom out, and you'll just go, and then look at how much land is there, and look at how many people are there. There are 9 people there. There's literally 9 settlements in probably 50 square kilometres. And there's only hundreds of people there, and there's nothing there. So, because the thought was,
and it's beautiful. Like, you could totally live there.
Just develop it.
You've got to put some stuff in first.
Just develop it.
I think there's an IGA.
Great.
In Sheffield.
Anyway.
So it's an hour and a half from here.
Yeah.
So again, it's not like you're going, oh yeah, it's only. So we're going to make a day of it, hopefully. So TBA will come back.
So I popped into the bar for a moment to drop all those things off, and I spoke to a gentleman that you would know, where I bought those tractor bits off from up at Lagana.
Oh, yeah.
That guy. I think his name's Matt.
I think so too.
And I asked him, because he's into, you know, again, he's the kind of guy you buy tractor parts off. So, I mean, he's known in the steam engine community. So I was saying, is it big? And he went, oh, look, yeah, it's a fair size. I said, it's got pavilions and stuff. He said, oh, yeah, there's stuff, you know, there's in there. I said, you know, do you think I'd like it? He said, oh, if you're into old shit, you know, it's all right, you know.
Okay.
So it'll just be one of those things, I think.
We'll go maybe we
drive straight there, give it the benefit of that. I know.
Because it's $20 to get in as well.
It's not cheap.
So we're just like, right, we're
$40 for both of us.
Donating to the cause.
Yes.
We'll have a nice day trip, I think. So.
Yeah, go and have a look at it. Because that's what because my great thought, which got us onto this, was thinking, let's just turn it into a day trip and then find a hill near Steamfest, go up the hill, look at Steamfest and go, is this worth $50 to us to go in there? Again, $50. But it's more just a case of...
It's a waste of time.
It's just a waste of fucking a day. Because it does take... Like, it's a 3-hour round trip to get up there. Because Tasmania is the size of fucking Switzerland.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, if there's nothing there, we have to go to Sheffield and hopefully it's open and everyone's not closed and at Steamfest.
And then I was trying to say, why don't we go and have a look at some of the surrounding towns? And I went, there are no surrounding towns.
Nah, I'm taking a packed lunch.
Because you're middle-aged.
Just in case there's nothing open.
Just in case the menopause starts.
Fuck off. Just in case there's nothing open and I need food.
So anyway, we'll go on.
Because there ain't no McDonald's or Hungry Jack's or anything like that.
No,
desperation. There's not even a petrol station.
I don't think that there should be any of that. I just think there should be... They should build houses.
Pub.
Yeah,
I'd like a pub where I can get a meal in a country town.
Build houses. And you know what? There is pubs here. But you know what there isn't near the pubs? People that live there. So the pubs aren't open. Or they're not open much. They're only open Friday and Saturday nights. So build houses, Tasmania. Just build lots and lots of houses.
For the love of God.
And to build houses, just release land.
Yeah.
Let people who own land, because everybody owns the land here. There's fuck all crown land. You're not releasing blah, blah, blah. Just let people, maybe like us...
Incentivise people.
Just get out of the way.
Well, both.
Yeah. Just... Tasmania likes to incentivise. We've had this conversation many times.
Well, they haven't done it yet for land release.
Yeah. So. They don't need to incentivise. They just need to get out of the fucking way. Just get out of the way.
Anyway, so TBA, we're going to go and wander.
We continue to blur our topics.
And then the third Tassie thing, because we're all about Tassie tonight.
Rah. Tasmania.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What was it? Oh, the artist.
The artist. Yes. So we've discussed this a bit, and I've reminded you not to be defamatory. You are allowed to think someone's a prick.
I don't know the person.
We don't know, but yes, you can't accuse them of anything.
My opinion is such that I think that is purely a publicity stunt, and shame on you for just doing a publicity stunt.
So
to get your name in the paper,
to fill in the and to get a bit of funding.
Context.
So
and funding, yes.
So the context for it. So there is a and I shall explain this one with all due cultural sensitivity. We would like to acknowledge the the elders, both past, present, and emerging, and warn Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders that we may mention people who are deceased.
I'm soon to be deceased.
I wish this artist would soon be deceased.
Well, he's interested in deceased people.
He is, and that's the point. So we don't wish that, but
everyone's dying.
Slowly. Oh yes, it's going to happen eventually.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this gentleman has put a ad in the paper asking for a person of British descent. Ironically, looking at this gentleman, who is whiter than I am, just completely irrespective, just having a look at the chap. He could pick a relative, I reckon, if he needed somebody of British descent, or is he all going to say no? They're all of Irish. I don't know. But so anyway, so he's a very
England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales. He is. That's British, dude. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, that's like my argument when they argue about this legislation. I was like, well, I'm still very cut up about the Norman invasion that destroyed my my proud pagan heritage.
Anywho, he wants a body.
He wants a body to apparently respectfully have them atone for sins or past transgressions against the Palawa people, which is the Tasmanian Aboriginal. So a few things came up. How can you atone? Set someone to it? Clearly, what he wants to do, I would say. Again.
But there's no substance to it either.
No,
it's simply you've put an ad in the paper, and there's where's your actual? Don't you have to do because he got funding, right? It would be interesting. So where's his document where it says what you're doing and the ethical considerations?
One could dig into all of that if one wanted to, and it would be interesting. I wonder if anyone has actually written to whoever is given funding. I don't know if the funding's just to this guy or to
the company that's staging it,
or a part of it,
production,
or whatever the production is.
Because he's a playwright too, and that's what I don't understand. Like, are you going to put it on stage and walk around it? What are you doing, dude?
What I was going to say is that I would imagine, probably going to be proven wrong, but I would imagine right now that it would be like Aboriginal remains that have been put on display in natural history museums.
They're bones, aren't they?
Sure, but that's what he might. Who knows? Is that what he does with the?
I want it to be like the plasticization one that I went to. That was fucking great, where you slice them into like 5mm slices, and then you hang them, and you can see all their bits.
You and Gunther von Hagens, you like this.
Great.
Anyway, the point is, there were definitely natural history museums where we don't know how much of whether they were bones or something. I would imagine it's something like that, and you would argue, of course, hey, they did it with fucking mummies, and the Egyptians aren't all that cut up about it. The Egyptians want the shit that's worth money back, but you know, so I would imagine it would be something that would pay homage to that. I would imagine.
I don't know.
But you don't know. We don't know. But what was amusing that we thought, where, hey, I agree with you. He was talking about
tokenism.
He was talking about tokenism, and he was complaining about virtue signalling and all the rest of it. So we must remain open-minded, because we completely agree with him that bit. But on the same token, here's a guy
from a white man
who is essentially prima facie a white guy who identifies, who, again, such triggering topics, triggering descriptions, but how else do you describe it? He looks like a white guy, but he identifies, and I don't mean this in any kind of derogatory fashion, but he identifies as an Aboriginal. Classes
himself as.
Or an Aboriginal, they represent him as an Aboriginal, or they recognise him as an Aboriginal.
And that's
I don't
my
know.
problem too with the whole Tasmanian Aboriginal thing. You don't have to be recognised by a tribe here.
It's tick a box.
Yeah, I can tick the box.
Where, hilariously, again, so for the record, I agree with nothing almost that Michael Mansell has ever done, both present,
past and future.
I would like to acknowledge my disdain for Michael Mansell's actions, both present, past and future.
Publicity stunt.
Yeah, and
he's just a shit stirrer, and so is this guy.
Yeah,
but I agree with Michael Mansell.
But I agree with Michael Mansell about the ticker boxes, where he's going, well, we agree with you. We can't. Because there's no doubt, right? The last full-blooded Tasmanian Aboriginal was 120 years ago. And, yeah, absolutely. They had the snot knocked out of them, and there's none of them left, and, yep, it's very, very sad. And it's not fair. Like, going back to the old Chris Rock bit, talking about African Americans. You think it's so bad? When's the last time you saw a Native American family in a diner having dinner? When's the last time you saw that?
Yeah, no, you killed all them.
Yeah, fuck off.
Yeah.
And it's the same for the Tasmanian Aboriginals. There is none left. There's not much of their languages left. There's precious little of their culture left. All those sorts of things.
They didn't really do
However, you know, what's done is done.
Yeah.
And you need to make sure that the problems that genuinely stem for that are addressed and dealt with. But when there's so many people, not this particular individual, but when there's so many people that are...
We're talking in general. And
grifters.
I'm talking in general too. When I could tick a box and say I'm Aboriginal and there's no checking of that box in terms of whether or not it's true or not, how is that okay?
Especially when it comes to...
Because usually when you tick a box for something, you're getting either funding or you're getting preferential treatment or you're accessing something that...
You're taking resources from
someone that needs it.
That should have it.
Yeah.
That's entitled to it where you're not.
Yeah, who deserve it. Whereas you've decided that you deserve it.
Yeah.
And it's different in every other state. From what I'm aware. New South Wales is definitely different, where I'm from. You have to be recognised by one of the tribes...
Yeah,
not tribe, like the elders.
Yeah, for like whichever one of the land councils or whatever they do it. Again, we are clearly far from expert, but we're allowed an opinion, and
it's just very interesting.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens with this guy, because again, the tokenism stuff he's talking about.
100% agree. And I think you're the token dude.
And that might be the issue. So that's why it's almost like that. This is where you're going to get some real hate.
I'm out
You know
of
that
whiskey.
we're going to fix that in a second. But you know that Canadian metalworker trans guy with the massive tits.
Oh, the teacher, yes.
The teacher, the shop teacher.
Yes.
With them just
Who's now been removed.
yes.
Why? I didn't follow up on that.
I haven't. We'll come back to that. But
Yeah.
the point I was going to make is like so many people going, it's so over the top. Are they taking the piss to prove a point? And it's going to be afterwards. It's going to be well done, you know. Well done, sir. You know, where he comes out and say, I was clearly ridiculous and all this thing. So, I mean, this is drawing a long bow, but is old mate doing same thing? Maybe
I
and
don't
saying
think so.
because
Because
I live in hope.
I googled him slightly, and every description on all of his bios for his playwrights and his dancing and all that kind of stuff all says that he's a proud,
Whatever, man.
not Palawa either.
Oh no, it'll be more specific.
Yeah, something.
Because that's the other thing. It's like there was zillions of different
that's what I keep
tribes. They're all
saying.
nomads.
What language? Like, which indigenous name are you using? Like, which language have you picked?
And which language do you speak?
Yeah.
Oh, you don't speak.
You don't speak it, and then
Yeah.
the fact
It's
that
difficult.
I can't remember what article it was, but they said they can't document the words because it's secret squirrel. It's like, are
Nonsense.
you fucking kidding me? Do
Nonsense.
you want to preserve it, conserve it, or what? Like, nah, secret squirrel can't tell you. All right, dude.
Yeah. So it's a problem, and it's a part of the culture wars, and I like all of this is a part of the culture wars that are going on, and
It's just the
hopefully,
latest.
yeah. So we wish him all the best, and we hope his installation is a great success. I hope he isn't charged with interfering with a corpse. First of all, I hope he doesn't. First of all, don't interfere with a corpse.
Please don't.
It's kind of
Who
icky.
would do that though? Who would volunteer? Like, what self-hating white person British descent? Okay, well, that's the thing too. Like, he wants a white person. Clearly, that's what he's aiming for. But
British descent. Let's give
Britain
him a Welsh. Let's give him a Welsh guy that
that's
looks
darker than me.
Oh yeah, that's dark. That is literally darker than every single Tasmanian Aborigine.
Yeah, I was going to say the amount of black people in British society too, not from obviously.
Oh, but I just mean like genuine rolled gold Welsh, like you know the Welsh guys that are dark.
Yeah, but I'm saying also the amount, like, there's plenty of black people in British, like, they're British descent. They've been there forever.
Now, like the Windrush guys and the Jamaican people.
They've been there forever.
But that's the argument of us. Our families could date back to the First Fleet. They don't. Well, mine doesn't.
Mine doesn't.
But
No.
half
I don't know mine, actually.
half of mine dates back to Essex one generation ago, so I would be very much of British
Get your
descent.
handbags out, ladies.
But on my mother's side, I might go a few generations back, because there's, like, my grandmother, because she was literally 100 years old, you've only got to go 3 people back on her line, and we're at the beginning of Australia, because her mother lived until she was fucking 90.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah,
Good genes.
yeah. So there's good genes on that side.
I've got Canadian and Irish, I think. So none of my people were here.
Which part of Ireland do we? Is it British, the Catholic or the Protestant bit?
Good question. I'm an O'Connor on my grandmother's side.
Let's have the tiniest little bit more
Oh,
whiskey.
here we go, alcohol.
Here we go.
It's a slippery slope.
It is a slippery slope.
No, all I remember is my old man telling me that, yes, that my grandmother was an O'Connor.
Speaking of Ireland, today's
Yes.
episode is brought to you by
Which is why I like
Jameson
Jamesons.
triple distilled Irish whiskey.
And I have said this on one of the bar posts that
Proper Catholic. This is Catholic with none of this Bushmills Protestant nonsense.
I would be kicked. I don't think I've ever tried Bushmills. I would be kicked
very
out of the
similar.
clan if I didn't like Jamesons.
Well, I hate to break it to you. Well, then you better be Catholic, because much so than the Tasmanian north-south divide. Jesus Christ.
My father was raised a Catholic until his parents had a disagreement with something to do with the Catholic Church, and then they marched him down to the Anglican and said, "You take him as well."
Really? Oh, okay.
So he's
he
been
must be
both.
from. Well, then you're not of British descent then, if he's from the Republic of Ireland. Legally.
No, I'm Bog Irish.
Yeah, I know that.
Your father will love that. Isn't that one of the first things your father said about me? Oh, God, I hope she's not Bog Irish. That's funny. Anywho, O'Connor, Ireland. Thank you.
So, yeah.
So, no, we were just talking about... That was all I had to talk about. Yes, that's my...
So that's a start. O'Connor Island. That could be from anywhere.
Yeah.
Yes, all right. So there we go. So no, so that's that. So yes, that made national news because he did actually put it in the paper advertising for a corpse. So, but again, speaking from my vast experience with artists, that was the installation. That was it.
The art piece,
and that's what
what I mean. Like,
and the responses they've got will be a part of the installation.
He'll just print the fucking emails out and stick them on the wall. Like, Jesus Christ.
It could be as little as that.
We shall see.
But we wish him all the best. It would be slightly interesting if he did do it. And the whole idea, and as I understand it, the theme of the what would you call it, the exhibition is one of controversy.
Right.
So you're going to get, which you pretty easily get.
Did he not get into Mona?
Well, the Mona one's the funny one, because didn't they want another one where they wanted Aboriginal blood on a flag or something, and that caused a great stir? Was it British blood or Aboriginal blood? I can't remember. But again, it's all this race. Can we have something different?
How about some different thoughts and ideas?
How about some new ideas? Because that's the other thing with all of this. It's like,
boring.
Can we move on? We need to move on.
Rome is burning.
Yeah, Rome is burning.
And you're fiddling with your bits.
Yeah. So let's look at the actual, before we get bogged down in art, which I argue is somewhat self-actualization, is fairly high on the Maslow's hierarchy. How about we get down a bit more into
basics,
food and water and
shelter
and
medical
education,
and yes,
and deal with those things, like all the things that are big problems. They're problems here, but not as bad as they are out in the fucking Kimberley, with these Aboriginal settlements in the middle of nowhere where everything is shit.
And nothing seems to change.
Despite we need to do something different.
And that's what I was saying about these people who, and it's not just Tassie either, it's Australia-wide.
Oh, it's especially Australia-wide.
Identify as these things, and you're not. I'm sorry. I'm sorry you're not. And has anyone ever told you, no, sweetie, you're not?
Snap out of it.
You're not a man, you're not a woman, you're not an Aboriginal. You're just not. I'm sorry.
You can be a bit of those things.
You can... What's the word I'm looking for? You can be passionate about that issue without being the thing. It's like... I was going to say, Blair White was talking about someone who faked their whole background to try and be an activist in a certain thing. I think it was child slavery or something or other, and it turns out it was all fake. Yeah. And it's like, you don't have to be the thing to go, you know what, I'm interested in that and I'm passionate about that and I'm going to do shit for that.
I look upon these sorts of things as I look upon hilariously like free speech, and that, you know, there's lots of arguments these days around free speech where I think free speech should be pretty close to unbounded. You should be able to talk about your ideas, and lots of people, especially people with more negative experiences in this life than me, will talk about no, some ideas are quite dangerous. And I always argue back, well, look, the idea itself isn't dangerous. The nutters that might implement them, that's what makes it dangerous. The people that might follow these sorts of things, what make it dangerous. But similarly, what I would argue when it comes to, you know, trans issues or, you know, or light-skinned Aboriginal issues or any of these sorts of things, or anything that you might want to identify as, or gender, or all those sorts of things in the culture war, providing you're genuinely not hurting anyone else, I couldn't give a fuck.
No.
And fill your boots. But lately and for so long, I think a lot of these things weren't hurting other people.
No.
And I probably let's set aside, let's carve out the Aboriginals on that thing, because that one is a bit different to like the gender issues and things like that. So let's leave that out for a second and just look at like the gender issues and the identification issues around those sorts of things around culture. transracialism, which kind of is a bit of that, but
left and right, greenies, not
all those sorts of
greenies,
things. Talking about
labourers,
that,
labourers,
where you're not hurting anyone else, fine. If you want to wear a dress
part of
and
a group,
that's fine. If you want to be a furry and shit in a box, knock yourself out. But when you start insisting other people have to accommodate you and accommodate you,
and
that's where
resources.
you start. Yep. Well, I was going to say, when you start to insist that other people comply with your views, you're starting to hurt. When you start taking resources, you are hurting. And then when you start fighting other people about your rights and protesting and all the rest, you're genuinely hurting people. Like you're going to something and you physically assaulting someone who doesn't agree with you. Well, then you've well and truly, you've left the reservation.
Yeah.
And so my view is, if we could dial it back a bit, and you go, if you're 25 and you decide you want to take hormones, and someone's dumb enough to give them to you, and you want and everybody involved in that transaction is reasonably certain that you're across it, fill your boots. But if you want to do that to a 4-year-old boy that decided to pick up a doll one day, first do no harm, maybe settle the fuck down, maybe not. Maybe that's hurting other people, like really obviously, and that's a really obvious one that they're all rushing into. Just
boggles the mind.
We've got to be past the peak. I'm hoping we're past the peak.
I don't know. Again, the algorithm is a fabulous thing, but it does keep popping up because I just keep thinking, surely it can't be that widespread.
What's that?
The States it might be, though. All these children who are being given hormone, what is it, blockers.
Puberty blockers when they're older, or hormones. Yeah, the puberty blockers and then differing hormones.
Yeah, I'm like, surely it can't, but
I would say...
Like, am I in the rabbit hole where I'm just getting fed shit because it annoys me?
I will say two things on that. I will say, when it comes to kids, I'd say Australia is pretty conservative around that sort of thing. I doubt that... I certainly don't think it's as bad as America, when you've definitely seen evidence of people encouraging them to do it despite their parents' wishes.
Yeah, which is odd.
Which is...
creepy.
Grooming.
Yeah, that's the word
like
for it.
It's abuse. That's abusive. I keep saying prima facie, but on the face of it, it looks abusive. I'm sure it is. So I haven't really seen much of that in Australia, right? And however, over 18, I've seen heaps of it. Tons of it. Tons and tons and tons of it. It's come into the bar. Girls who like boys, who want girls who like boys. All that sort of stuff. Remember the old 80s song from that one?
But I don't care if you're an adult.
Yeah, who cares? As long as I don't care if
and you're not taking resources from someone.
I don't care if you're an adult and you can legally consent to it. I don't think, like, if it's clear that you're
because again,
a bit
gender-wise,
nutty,
like what resources would I don't know.
I've seen it. They've done it. And then the other thing is, how many have you said, "Oh, I'm autistic," or "I'm this," or "I've got all that"? Yeah,
you're not.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. I'm on the spectrum and
special.
I need this, and you're not special. You want to be special? Go climb fucking Mount Everest, and even that ain't special anymore.
You have to do something.
Do something.
Yeah, not just pick a name or a word.
Yeah. So here's the tip from Brad and Shirley of the Doc Dave Drinking Podcast. If you're special and you didn't have to do anything to be special, you're not special. Okay?
But again, that's just a sign.
Like, if you haven't had to do something... Remember when...
It's just
do
sad.
something hard.
It's just sad.
Remember when you had to, like, be good?
Think.
You get a... This is what happens, but this is what happens after everyone gets a trophy bullshit.
That's what I mean. I just feel sorry for you. Like,
and when I was a kid, I never got
person.
trophies, and I felt bad about it. But you know what? I didn't feel bad. How bad I felt about it? Not bad enough to actually try and run faster or try and swim better, because I wasn't really interested. But I was always the last to be picked for a team, but literally because I was smart, because I wasn't interested. I genuinely wasn't interested.
I got a sports award.
So did I. When I was 30 at university,
I got a sports award in year 12 at high school.
What for?
Because I think I mentioned this before, I was so surprised when they called out my name. It was because I played softball all through high school. I think I started in year 8, and it was very uncommon for a year 8 person to get picked on the softball side because I was quite good at it. And yeah, don't say it. Batting for the other team. No, I wasn't. I was just like softball, t-ball, baseball, softball. Anywho,
it continues
I can throw
to
shit and bat.
it continues to both surprise and disappoint me that you're not a dyke.
No, I'm not. No,
because I know like 9 girls right now we could get in on that. But okay.
No. But anyway, I got a sports award, but mine were all academic awards. But same thing was that
so am I.
You had to do something for it, apart from the sports one.
Well, you got it accidentally.
I swear to God. Well, but I did. I was on the side for all that time, so I think that's.
Oh, so you got the longest participating sort of award.
Oh, it was just called the.
You were the backbone.
Yeah, I think they had to just give it to someone, so they gave it to me.
Sure, you didn't get the.
I don't know what.
Everyone can be special.
No, seriously.
It was actually you had earned it.
Don't know.
I don't think you're really making your point here.
I don't think I earned it.
We should hand it back.
We should, but anyway.
I got the most improved, the only sports award I've ever received in this life.
Yeah, I've won heaps of other ones though.
Right, I'm sure you have. When you're dykey, not dykey.
Running, long distance running, I liked as well.
You're fucking hopeless at it now.
Yeah. Who are you?
Anyway, I got an award when I was at university the 3rd time round.
That was a participation award, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't. It was most improved in the 5-a-side soccer team that I was in when I was doing my doctorate at university.
Who did you beat up?
Well, that was the thing. So I got the award for most improved. They went because the ref went, "Oh, you did so much better." I can't remember, but I think it was afterwards. I had on, soccer, the non-contact sport. I had this kid claw the back of my neck with his
fingernails,
cat hands.
Oh, they usually check your nails.
Yeah. And I went to beat the shit out of him, and I went and got up his face, and the ref got in between us, and I didn't get. The ref said, "I'm going to red card you," and I went. He clawed the back of my neck. Look at it, and the ref sided with the other guy, and I said to him, and he's like, well, the rest of it, and I said, "Pray you're not in one of my classes. I'll be taking a really close..." Because I didn't say that, but I just went there. You know what you did. I think this is actually close to what I said, because I didn't say that. I take that back. But I did say, you know what you did, and you're giving me a shit-eating look like you knew what it did. And if you want to go outside, I'm really happy to, but I'm a lecturer and you're an undergraduate. How do you think it'll work out for both of us?
I'm surprised they didn't... Well, I suppose it was men's as well, right? Wasn't it? Or was it mixed?
This was a big guy, and he was probably in his 20s, but he clawed me like a fucking cat.
If you play netball, you have to put your hands up before every game. You have
to put your skirt up before every game.
No, you have to put your hands up and they check your fingernails.
Yeah, really?
You cannot have any nail.
That's because we
fucking
because you are fucking claw
and you pull hair.
And
elbows.
Well, allow
netball,
me
non-contact as well.
Well, allow me 20 years later. Because it probably was 20 years ago, to say, well, is that the same thing? Should I have sucked it up? But again, that was the point. I don't know anything about
soccer's weird for you to have claws, though.
Yeah, but I had marks on my neck, and he said, "I don't care," because I think he was probably taking the thing because I went up to snot the guy, but I would have been. He was big, but I was a lot younger. It was 20 years ago. I was like,
hands
I'll have you,
don't come
Jimmy.
into soccer. Hands come into netball.
But I think maybe I shoved him. Maybe I've shoved him or something.
And the truth comes out.
No, it's memory. I didn't drop him.
Anywho.
But maybe the ref got in between.
Back to what we're
but anyway,
about.
maybe the ref came into it. It's like, I don't care what he did. I saw what you did and fuck you, because that's how refereeing works.
Sounds about right.
And this is why I hate group sports.
Yeah.
I much prefer boxing, where you get into the ring
It's your fault.
and I beat the shit out of the guy, or I get the shit beaten out of me.
As a
and
final
you
point,
move on.
that's why I have my motorcycle license. If I'm going to die, it's going to be my fault.
Yeah.
I'm in charge. But anyway, so we were talking about, so all these people who have it so easy these days and they don't have to do anything, they just decide one day that there's something or other. I'm a cat,
And I need a litter box.
Yeah, and you need to provide me with a litter box.
No, I don't.
It's like, no, if you want to do that, then you should provide your own litter box.
At home.
It's not up to us as a society to provide you anything other.
When did we stop? When did everything become tolerated except the tolerable?
It's weird.
Because there used to be a time where it's like, What you do behind closed doors is your business.
I've said this to you before. There's no shame anymore. You can't shame someone because they're not ashamed of it.
It is bizarre.
Taken a selfie and put it on fucking TikTok because they love it.
We can say that there's a bit of narcissism and ego in this.
Yeah, true.
But I mean, we're not demanding people watch and it'll be almost, it would almost be like, if you want to watch this, you have to wear 3D glasses. You must. Like, if you're like compelling people,
yeah, there's something extra that you
must do this to bend to our will, because that's what a lot of that sort of stuff is. And do they do it because they need to be validated, or do they do it because, like, I don't know.
I don't know either. We'll have to speak to someone who's like that and try not to.
Well,
make
we
them
have,
cry.
and I can't mention any names, and I'm not going to. But if you think about, like, people going, well, I'm autistic, and I'm this, and I'm special, and I'm a snowflake, and I'm that. There's plenty of you go and mill around that bloody bar we own, and you can see a lot of that. Amongst the young
I just think
people.
It's sad. Like, you're not interesting and you're not special. Go and make yourself interesting and special.
And you could be.
Live your life.
Well,
go and do some shit. Have some experiences. Own some stuff.
Is it? This is terrible. But the analogy, the very crude analogy, is it's like you see some fucking fat girl with a pretty face, and you go, "Sweetie, you'd be so. Why don't you look after yourself? Like, why don't we fix this up?" Where it's like, I'm sure you're bright enough. I'm sure you could be very interesting.
And that's fixable too.
Why don't you learn?
It's not a terminal disease.
No. Well, it is eventually, but you know, like, but no, there's all this. If you want to have some self, like, why don't you get some self-esteem? Why don't you work on that, and then go and do something, and then people, when you earn praise, you will receive it if that's what it's about. But I don't know if that's the case.
I don't know. Because
we're not mentally ill.
Because I was going to say, I'm not the right person to be asking. Because again,
we'll get a guest.
There's a thing we should have a guest. Someone here.
So tell me, what's all this
going on here?
Yeah.
Because I don't know. You external shit can't make you happy. You need to sort your shit out.
Well,
and by that I mean.
You know what I'm going to say.
You know what I'm trying to say,
Money
right?
doesn't buy happiness, but it does let you buy a big yacht and you can sail right up next to it.
Money doesn't buy you happiness. Money gives you choices, and that's fucking happiness. So yeah.
Money does buy you happiness.
Money means you can say no.
Money,
a lot of people can't say no.
Money does buy you happiness.
But no, what I'm saying is that.
And you can certainly rent. You can definitely rent it by the hour, but you can pretty much buy it too.
Like, nobody gives a shit about you. You have to sort your shit out.
The universe doesn't care.
Yeah. Life isn't fair. Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
Work harder.
You're going to die.
If you want something, go get it.
Yeah. And it's not going to be given to you. You have to take it.
Yeah.
And at the moment, so many people are saying, but that's the other thing with all these people where we've often talked about.
And I'm lazy as fuck.
You are. Me too. We all are. But that's where you see so many people complaining about what they're entitled to and what they should get and why do they have this and why do they have that, and it's like the vast majority of the ones we're talking about, it's like, bitch, you're white, you're in Australia, you're complaining about this on a phone built by Chinese slave children, and you think you've got it hard.
Yeah, woe is me.
You've already won the lottery. You're in Australia.
Yeah, suck it up.
And as the friend of the show, Alan Fu,
love him.
You don't want to work, we'll give you $1,000 a week so you don't have to. Which you can't do. No one starves in Australia. You don't. No one's sane. Like, you choose to starve in this country. And even then, someone will providing they catch you, go outside, someone will go, oh, they're starving, and they'll sort you out.
Give you stuff. Yeah, I don't get it.
Like, you go to the fucking subcontinent, you can starve. You go to the bumfuck USA, you can starve. Welcome to rickets. You will not get that in Australia.
No, I've heard of rickets. I'm not sure what it is. Is it like chickenpox?
No, it's a vitamin deficiency.
Oh, yeah. Okay, no.
Yeah, it's like scurvy.
Ugh, have an orange, dude.
Well, in Australia, Oranges are fairly easy to get, are affordable and widely available. So yeah, we get off topic as to one of our rants, but
there is a certain amount of privilege. Back to Aboriginal artists, dude. There is a certain amount of privilege in that, and they won't admit it. I don't think.
Well,
various people have.
Here's the thing:
you're an artist.
If you develop,
you're an artist.
Yes, well, this comes back to, will allow me to make 2 points. First of all, if you build a platform and then are able to influence others to do this is good, and hopefully that is
Unless
what our and you lost the there goes Godwin's law, and you lost the argument.
No.
If you build a platform, minor Obergruppenführer.
Yes.
And yes, two salutes, not one. This is the new one. Then and if you use it for good, two salutes, not one. Two. Then great, and that's maybe what he's doing, right? Happy days.
I hope so. I doubt it.
Yeah.
I hope so, but I doubt it.
Then maybe you can do it. But the second point I was going to make, that's the first point. The second point I was going to make, which we've discussed earlier today, I think in Insight, where you and I are very, very similar, and I don't think we realised until today, you were getting shitty about that guy because you saw there being a massive problem with Aboriginal poverty in Australia.
Yep.
Every rational thinking person can acknowledge that.
Yep.
To some degree.
Yep.
And you see that problem not being addressed by this guy.
I see it as fixable.
And you see this guy is not fixing the problem, and that if you had this thing, wouldn't you do something to fix this problem? And obviously, the difference of opinion is he may
see that as a means to the end of that.
He may see that as a means to an end of it. He might not care, or he might, and I'm sure, completely disagree with everything you say, think, or do. But but that's the insight we got for you, that you hilariously are much more these are problems, and I need to fix these problems, which I wouldn't have accused you of this earlier.
I'm a doer. I like actions.
I'm a fixer.
I'm a fixer.
I fixed it.
But yeah,
like Christopher Pine, but
he's funny.
Allegedly less sex in the prayer room.
Dude,
allegedly.
Come on.
Very alleged.
Ugh. Anyway, of all the places, pick somewhere with. Anyway.
Allegedly.
But yes.
I don't think it's even allegedly.
I
think the other ones certainly got caught up in it. I don't know if Chrissy Pine had anything to do with it.
But yeah, no. I am very much okay. What's the plan? What are we doing? Steps 1, step 2. Right, okay. Yeah. You don't have any food? Cool, let's sort that out. Let's not talk about sorting it out. Let's not have an art installation about food.
But let's just, since we're on the topic, just for a second, even though we are going a bit long as we always do, but let's talk about Tasmanian Aboriginals for a second. Not that we've got an awful lot of experience in it.
Yeah.
So here's the thing: I've only seen it through the lens of newspapers, which Christ, who knows, right? And a lot of it has certainly been baiting for a lot of the locals here traditionally. And I'm talking about Tasmania. So I've been involved with Tasmania for basically now a quarter of a century. Is that fair to say? How fucking old am I? Nearly. So I first came here.
97?
No, so not that bad. Sorry, I beg your pardon. 20 years.
20 years.
A hard 20 years, a solid 20 years I've been involved in Tasmania. And what they would often do...
4.
Yeah. Oh, you've kind of been involved in it a little bit, but I've been solidly...
Full-time 4.
I moved here first when I was in 2003, right? So solid 20 years. And it was January 1, 2003.
Well done.
So happy days. So a solid 20 years I've been involved in. And over those years, they've definitely always... The newspapers have reported on Tasmanian Aboriginals, and they've always shown pictures of literally red hair, freckles, green eyes. Whiter than both of us, and I am...
You are the mustard race.
Must and grey blue eyes.
I am not white.
No, you are not. You are a mutt.
Olive.
Now, so they've always seen it this way. But the point what I'm willing to ask is, where is the disadvantage here? Now, and that's something that you need to be very careful about. Is there Well, let's take a suburb that's quite disadvantaged. There's a pile to choose from.
Well,
Rochelle,
Tasmania.
Ravenswood, down south, Chigwell. I don't know the south as well, but there's certainly shitty suburbs, right? So let's talk about where we do know. So in Ravenswood and all the rest of it, there's a whole bunch of, let's be frank, poor white people.
Yep.
Right? I'm sure a percentage of them identify as Aboriginal. I'm sure a high percentage, let's give everybody the benefit of the doubt, let's be sure that a high percentage of those that identify as Tasmanian Aboriginals are of Tasmanian Aboriginal, like genuinely of Tasmanian Aboriginal heritage. But we're really talking about great-grandmother.
Small percentage.
Yeah,
and
by
you
now.
can't tell on a physical level.
No. So, that's always been my point. You have not been discriminated against
on that.
Visually.
Yes.
You can't be.
No.
You can't be.
You look whiter than me.
If anything, you're just being discriminated against by being Tasmanian. And let me assure you, as us being both Sydney-siders, Tasmanians on the mainland do get discriminated against.
Yes.
Definitely. Going to Tasmania. Where are you from? Oh, Tasmania. It's like, did you fill out the application form in crayon?
I'm used to that. I'm from the Shire.
Yes. How's your passport?
Good, thanks.
So I guess the point that I'm trying to make while you're Googling away is how many of them are actually how many Tasmanian Aboriginals are disadvantaged genuinely by their Tasmanian heritage? Do they have a is there a not, like, I'm not picking, I'm asking the questions. Is there a known, like, were they disadvantaged that generationally they're set back because generational wealth hasn't been there? But I would argue that there's not a lot of generational wealth in Tasmania. There is amongst the upper classes, but the middle and lower class, because there's not a lot of middle class here. And the lower classes, there's no generational wealth. So when your father dies and he leaves you nothing, then there's no generational wealth, right? So is there a disadvantage because of that? Is there a disadvantage because of a genetic medical condition? Like, our African American friends are very prone to sickle cell anemia. Like, is there a Tasmanian Aboriginal syndrome? Are they more like more full-blooded Aboriginals, where they have a measurable problem with alcohol because they don't have an enzyme to process it. Like, most of them are allergic to alcohol, essentially. Does the Tasmanian Aboriginal have that problem?
But when it's down,
so I don't know. I'm asking those questions.
But it's when it's down to that percentage of your makeup. Does that affect you at all?
But that's the other thing. Again, I'm asking a question. I'm not a pejorative. What percent, like an Aboriginal, what's the range?
I'm asking, what's your problem? What?
I'm not even, before I'm even getting, well, I guess I'm asking the same sort of thing, but I'm kind of also going to there, what's your problem? But then when we got to that problem is, what percentage of you is actually genetically Aboriginal, where these problems would present? And like, if there's a medical problem that would disadvantage you, because if you've got a medical problem that disadvantages you, that's cut and dried. Sure, I'm a big believer in equity. You should be brought up to the same starting opportunity. And similarly, if there's generational disadvantage, I think that should be addressed as well. But if you're butthurt about what happened to your grandmother and it hasn't affected you in any measurable way, then you should get over it and you should move on.
That's where I think the entitled thing comes into it, and the wanting to be a victim. Like, you want to be a victim. There's no other. Why are you doing it? Why? You're trying to be part of a group, but why? What are you getting out of it? What do you see as a advantage and a disadvantage of being part of that group? Maybe we need to do some homework. I'm looking at the census, ABS, the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander population summary. Well, they keep going up in Tasmania. Yes, that's what I'm looking at. Up. Yeah, and that's where
our good friend Michael Mansell and friend of the show has
30,000 people identified as Aboriginal
I think
and/or
it's
Torres Strait
more than
Islander
that.
in the 2021 census.
was it? Well, what was it like in the?
Up from 4.6% and 4% in 2011. So every
Yeah.
year, every census, I should say, it's going up.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And
And
they-
the biggest band is 2021 is the darker one. The biggest band is the 5 to 14-year-olds.
Well, you would argue the difference between that census and the next one is that the 5 to 14-year-olds have been born. What's the difference in the census? 10 years? So mostly.
yeah.
But whether or not I have observed that they've said, that changes because people previously, it was a disadvantage to put it
On something.
on
and now
something,
you
and
get
now
stuff.
and now, well, let's not go that far. But now it's not. Let's say it's not a disadvantage to do that.
It's trendy to do that.
I will be
Perhaps.
much more middle of the road and say it's not a disadvantage to do that. So I think, funnily enough, I'm going to be the break on a lot of these things.
In 2021, the Tasmanian local government area with the most Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people was Launceston,
Really? Okay,
followed
that's
by
interesting.
Glenorchy, and
Glen Orkey. I always correct you.
Glenorchy.
I always correct you on that one.
and Clarence.
Clarence.
In Launceston, the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people represented 4.1% of the LGA population
That's ridiculous.
and 9.5% of the overall Tasmanian Aboriginal population. How ridiculous is that? So the number of people in Launceston is 2,873. The actual number.
How's that 5%?
It's 9.5%.
No, that's 9.5%.
4.1 of the population.
Now, I have been drinking, and it's been a while. That's 1 in 20, right? So how do you get 1 in 20 and then only have 2,000?
I don't know what the... Again, LGA, Launceston Greater.
Because that would mean...
They do this all the time.
Well, those numbers don't add up.
Launceston versus the Greater Launceston area.
So the
Or the
Launceston
local government,
CBD.
or the local government area. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
They're not great at
Well,
this.
based on that, so that's like... If it's nearly 5%, that's 1 in 20.
Fuck me.
And 1 in 20 of 100,000 ain't... that many times 20 isn't 100,000, or even 60,000, or 80,000, depending on... Because Launceston, we looked this up last time, it's 86,000 at the moment. So those numbers don't add up.
No. Anyway.
So, well, in the spirit of responsible podcasting, do we get some answers to those questions for next time?
Yeah,
I
maybe.
don't think that's a bad thing. So let's...
I'm honestly interested.
and my interest is genuinely honest as well. I don't... Because I think we've pretty clearly put our cards on the table. I don't give a fuck who you are. Just make the world a better place and don't hurt other people, right? That's pretty much genuinely
Do
how
shit.
I
Actions.
do
not
stuff.
Words.
Stop whining.
Yeah, shut up.
Shut up and get on with it.
Yeah.
You know, just have a cup of concrete. Let's move
Yeah.
on. Because there's always some prick with no fucking legs that's out there doing a lot more than you are with your limp.
Yeah.
Right? So the universe doesn't care,
No.
doesn't owe you a favour.
No.
Just fuck off, right?
Yeah.
That's my view. But those questions aren't... I'm not picking. Like, I'm interested. I'm genuinely interested. So why don't we find out? So, like, is there any actual generational... What's the problem?
Yeah.
Like, what's the actual measurable problem?
That's what I mean. Like,
Maybe
what's
we
the
should go
problem?
and try and do a bit of research and find out. Maybe we stand corrected. Well, we won't even stand corrected. Maybe we find out there is a generational problem. Okay, that's fine. And in 1 in 20 of you, or whatever it is, are you actually really genuinely? Is there a problem? And is it reasonable to say that you're experiencing that problem?
And as I said,
And just because it happened to your fucking ancestor, does it matter?
you don't get a free ride.
Why do you get a free
because-
kick?
Yeah.
Like, and why do you want one?
That's what I'm
Because so many
saying.
times
Why
we've
are
had
you
that discussion
doing
with you. Like, you get a job. Is it because you got tits?
Yeah.
Because you people, you went through that. 25 years ago. You know,
When the
culture
I
war
want to be
with
the
women.
best person for the job.
Well, you can't be because you haven't got a penis. Really, it brings so much to the table. Even the little ones.
Don't pick on our Korean friends.
We're going to be swamped by Asians.
Oh fuck, whatever. We are part of Asia.
That all comes down to the whole thing of, please, aliens, please, for God's sake, I know you're watching.
I've
Invade,
said this
please come to
plenty
us.
of times.
We'll all band together and fight them.
I don't think we will. Honestly, I've said that plenty of times and I've stopped saying it. All we need is the aliens to pop down and everyone will be like, oh, okay, they're the common enemy. I don't know whether we will.
Oh no, well, one of Goldsmith's many rules, one of my laws is never underestimate the ability for one minority to pick on an even smaller minority, right? And I've been saying that, hand on heart, for 30 fucking years. I was saying that when I was a teenager.
Because nerds are good at that.
Oh yeah, we'll rip each other. We will kill you. Like, there's women, and then there's the only thing worse is probably nerd women. But we don't care. Like when it's intellectual sparring only.
You've been doing it online on keyboards for fucking 30 years. So
forever. I've been doing it since 1986, and I've been on the internet full time since 1994.
But no, I'm genuinely interested because, again, I'm coming at it from a position of and that's the other thing. It's like you're trivialising that issue by getting yourself in amongst something that is nothing to do with you, and there's no detriment to you whatsoever.
Well, that's what we need to find out.
Get the fuck out of the way, and let's get to the people who deserve.
Well, maybe that's what we find out, because where I will agree with you right now, right? Within some small, I'm putting my scientific hat on because I keep
there's
wanting to say
there's got to be a percentage of people that are doing that.
Within a small margin of error, I would completely agree with you with that. For the guys that I can't tell you, if there was a lineup and they said of white guys and you, and I mean Norwegian, Scandinavian, the only way I'd pick a difference is you're a bit short. We get a Dutch guy, a fucking German, and all these things. Like, you are not being picked on because of how you look.
No, you're a lazy fucker.
Well, I don't know.
But that's what I'm saying.
The individual, the stereotypical.
There's
like if you're talking
something
about
else going on there.
Yeah.
And you can't just whinge, it's because I'm Aboriginal, it's because I'm gay, it's because I'm trans, it's because I'm a woman. It's like, pick a fucking whatever. It's not because of that, it's because you're lazy.
Well, we don't know. Well, the stereotypical one in your head, the stereotypical whingy, whiny...
It's because you're a pom.
Woke. What I think, with all due respect, my darling, beautiful third wife... is that I think...
I don't know. We'll see.
You're definitely complaining about your average... What you're definitely complaining about right now is your stereotypical fucking social justice warrior, right? And the lily white Aboriginal social justice warrior can be hard to swallow. And I agree with you. But what I'm interested in, the question I'm
not just talking about that issue, though. I'm talking about all of them in general.
Yep, so that one in particular, but in general, yeah, you're complaining about social justice warriors and people that have decided that they're special because...
And they get an excuse.
And because of they get slack for no reason whatsoever.
You don't.
No, you don't. And I always keep saying, there's some fucker over there with no legs that's crawling over there to get shit done. He's not fucking whinging.
No.
He's getting on with it.
He's just getting shit done.
Right. But the questions I think we should answer, which would be interesting, I think, like if we look at the Tasmanian Aboriginal thing that seems to be, certainly topical this week, is there any actual genuine generational disadvantage? Is there any actual systemic issue that you go, despite your looks, you have this, and is there? And I guess the other question is there actually a genuine culture there? Well, the culture there would be interesting. You need to speak to people, and God help us, it'd be interesting to do.
Aboriginal, I don't know what it's called in Launceston. They've got a office.
I am not going to go in there,
no,
even with the best of intentions, and I'm pretty sure I have good intentions right now. I'm not going to do that, but it'd be interesting to look at. Why don't we at least look at the literature? Let's look at the literature.
Yeah.
Let's look at the literature,
because
I don't need to go in there and ask a bunch of questions.
Even though I could tick the box and say, "Hello, I'm home."
Yeah, but how much? But that's the other thing, and I don't think when it comes to that sort of thing, I would think if you approach these organisations, well, as we've already discussed, whichever organisation that the good Mr. Mansell's running, I don't think you could walk in there and say, "Oh, I'm home," and expect to be welcomed with other arms. I'm sure you say, "Fuck off! Have you got a boat? Because I want that boat, and show me your Libyan passport. Look it up, people."
Yeah.
That was ridiculous.
He tried.
Then otherwise, fuck off. And
we'll
and rightly so. That might be some homework. Anyway, here endeth the podcast. I think that was a reasonable one.
So yeah, lots of Tassie stuff at the moment.
Yeah. I said.
And the only other thing.
And another thing. We're gonna have a long one.
No,
well, we haven't had.
I'll save it for next time.
No. Thomas, let's do it. Like if it's because it's.
No,
it's
I randomly picked on the. It's not going to show it to me now. The
really?
algorithm on. No, it's gone.
All right.
On Instagram showed me, things that make you poor.
Look it up next time. Is this handy hints
it was
from
shit
Charlie?
like smoking and alcoholism. It's like, no
really?
shit, it's expensive.
Well, funnily enough, when you mention that, like that was another, and we will wrap this up, but that was another, which can be for next time if we're talking about disadvantage, like because it's often a case of like why do poor people do drugs and all the rest of it? It's like because it's a cheap way to get out of reality and get out of and have a holiday. Because you know what? Another way is to get really, it's really nice, is to go to Saint-Tropez and sit on a super yacht and have 3 models blow you. And if you have the means, I highly recommend it. It's great.
Needs a vice.
Well, it's not so much advice. It's like, that's great. That's awesome. And do you know what else is awesome? If your life sucks, I'm just going to have a drink.
Yeah.
I just want to have one.
That's fine.
Just let me have a drink, or let me have some dope and just for a minute not think about my fucking lot in life. I've never had a problem with that, and so many wowzers have. Because I remember,
I only have a problem with that when it's clear that, like, if you haven't got food.
You've never had an addiction.
Says he pouring alcohol. Surely,
just for the point.
Surely, thank you. Surely you can see that if you haven't got food, you need to not have alcohol or cigarettes or whatever it is this week.
Yep, but when you're so sad that you can't, and you've never been that sad.
No.
And I've never been that sad either, but I've been that sad adjacent. And when you see people that get so sad that doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, that's not great.
Unlike you, I don't know, you haven't really known people that have killed themselves or tried to kill themselves. And when you see people that get that sad, it's not rational.
Give them more cigarettes. Give them more alcohol.
Maybe not, but when they do have it, don't criticise them for it.
We are all adults, and you are allowed to make decisions. Some of them might be shitty decisions, but they're your decisions.
Well, funnily enough, which is another topic for another Tasmanian thing, is one of the things they're talking about, the number of people that have been through the voluntary dying thing, which I haven't read. It's very interesting. We'll come back to that for next time. But I think I saw... So what's the difference?
Between what?
Letting someone drink themselves to death and going and getting an injection.
No difference.
That's right.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, cool. So let them do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I can't stop you.
No. And I'd prefer... There's preferential ways to go.
Yeah.
So. Anyway, on that cheery note, off you go, my children.
Cheers. Happy weekend.
Watch out for wolves.
Do something, please, for the love of God. I'm going to get a t-shirt.
And we will do some homework, I think, for this.
Oh, us too, yes.
To make it... Yes, we will do something.
Please, actions speak louder than words.
Yes. Which was a point I didn't finish earlier. It was like, we're just so digging Margaret Thatcher, or at least Meryl Streep's interpretation of her. What am I thinking?
Yeah. Don't ask me how I'm feeling or what I'm feeling. Ask me what I'm thinking.
Thoughts become actions.
It'd be
actions
wonderful
become
to get back to that.
Character. So...
Yeah.
Maybe that's your... Is that your sign-off?
What am I thinking? What are you thinking?
Yes, don't ask me how I'm thinking. What are you thinking? What are you doing?
It's fake anyway. When people say, how are you? fine.
They don't care.
No, that's what I mean. It's fake.
It's noises that need to come out of your face. But that's a part of that's part of the social
It keeps
contract.
the social lubricant going, but yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, for next time,
Goodbye.
perhaps. Goodbye. Goodbye. I mean it.
Jesus.
Oh.
You can't reach.
I've had half a drink.